Hello beautiful people, and welcome to part 3 of this astrology course. Now you could actually participate in this part even if you haven't done part 1 and 2 yet. This is a sort of bit of a standalone part. So this picture coming up now is of a birth chart in the way that I like to produce them. Different astrologers will produce them in completely different ways, okay? They all say the same thing. Everything's still in the same place. We just present them in different ways. And I just want you to look at it as a series of circles with a center. And know that at the time that this chart represented, whether that be the time of birth or the time of event or anything, but it was at that moment in time, which was completely dependent not just on clock time, but on stars time and on like where you're sitting on the globe type time. You know, it's really precise time. It's like a beam, an imprint of the universe in that moment that you were born. Okay, and the universe is constantly moving. Everything is moving in our solar system. It's just constantly moving. Okay, so our birth chart is done ideally at the time that we were born, because it represents the pattern that the universe was making in that moment. Not just in that moment, but in that physical space moment. Okay, because there could have been other babies born at the same time, but even one born into the bed next to you was not quite in the same physical space. Okay, I mean, okay, like, you know, that's a bit of a, you know, we wouldn't be splitting hairs over that one. But so each of us has a unique blueprint, if you like, of what was happening in the heavens at the moment that we were born. This is very, very special. And every chart you look at will be so different to anybody else's. And there are lots of things that charts will share, because some of the planets move very, very slowly. So when I was born, Uranus and Neptune, very dear to my heart, Uranus and Neptune, you'll come to really love some of the planets in particular because of just what you're gifted with from them. So I have Uranus and Neptune in a very tight relationship with each other in my chart. But because Uranus and Neptune move so slowly, it means that anybody within, like, you know, a year, sometimes even 2 years of my birth will also have that tight relationship of Uranus and Neptune in their chart. But other planets, the ones that are nearest to us, the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, they move really fast. They move fast. They're really moving. And so, you know, an hour can make, no, not an hour. No, sorry, I shouldn't say that. A few days definitely makes a massive difference. Now, when it comes more to the time, excuse me, that very much is to do with the rotation of the Earth and at what angle that we were rotated. So what angle we were looking at that pattern, that's much more to do with the time of the birth. But even then, I once had it, I was, when I was doing my astrology diploma, we used to have summer schools, and part of our diploma training was we had to actually get up and show our chart and talk about our chart. And it was a way of like really getting to know our own chart, but it was also a way of teaching, you know, it was getting us into teaching other people how different aspects in the chart actually live out, how we live those out. So it was fantastic. It was really, really good thing to do. So I was doing mine, and at the end of the session, someone came up to me who I didn't know, and she showed me a chart, and she said, "Look at this chart." And I looked at it. She said, "It's my brother." And I looked at it, and fuck, it was like looking at my own chart. It was exactly my blueprint. But it was just ever so slightly twisted. Just ever so slightly. So he was born at the same time as me. I can't remember if he was born like a few minutes different or whether it was just because he was born at the other end of the country to me. I don't remember which one. But it was just slightly different. And I looked at it and I said, "He's an alcoholic, isn't he?" And she said, "Yes." "How do you know?" I said, "Because I know I only just missed it." And I've always known that about myself. Anyway, but what I'm trying to say is that precision of that chart is so unique to us. You know, that his chart was so, honestly, the majority of astrologers would have looked at it and said, "This is the same chart." My God. It was the same chart. Except it was just a few minutes difference, whether it was astrological minutes or time minutes, I don't remember. So, we each see the world in a completely different way because we have each come in like our own universe, if you like, our own pattern of the universe. It's quite mind-blowing when you think about it like that. And now, I want you to consider that we have each come in with our own unique pattern of the universe, and bring that to a fine, like this direct beam, this fine beam that's coming down from the heavens, and it coming right down through you, right down through your center. And you go to that center. Because that is the essence, that is the core of who you are. And the reason we focus on our sun signs, and part 1 and part 2 have been very much about our sun signs. So if you're not quite sure what a sun sign means, it's to do with the day you were born. You know, it's the, if you look in a newspaper and open it up and you see the astrology, that's your sun sign. It's to do with the date that you were born. Okay, so it's what sign of the zodiac the sun, our sun, was in at the time you were born. Call that our sun sign. And the reason that the sun sign is so significant is because although we draw astrology charts from an earth-centered point, it's like that point in the middle of the chart is actually represents the earth, and you'll see a symbol for the sun somewhere around it, because we're looking at the sun going around us. Actually, that's not how the universe is constructed. Everything revolves around the sun. And so that pure essence is like that essence of the sun. It's like, and it's completely different for all of us, even though, like, you may meet another Pisces, or you'll read, like, something in a newspaper and you think, oh, that doesn't sound quite like me. But then you have to think that in that moment of time, when you're like the center of this universe, there's all these planets moving around, changing all the time. And they're all influencing us as well. And sometimes our sun is quite hidden, like it's nighttime and it's behind the clouds and it's behind the mountains or whatever, and it doesn't shine very brightly. And other things will. But everything in a chart has a beauty. Every possible, conceivable constellation design that the planets were making at the time that that person was born, every one of them is unique and beautiful and fascinating. It's like, wow. So I leave you with those musings. Love you all. Talk to you soon.